need to pick about 120 leaves to get a good representative sample of the block. Next thing is you need to make sure you pick leaves from all sides of the tree. So as you're walking throughout the block, make sure you pick from the north side, south side, east side and western side of the tree. Next thing is you need to pick leaves at about sort of within easy reach. So you don't need to go right at the top leaf or the bottom leaf. You need to pick about this shoulder height. Last thing is, sometimes you walk up to a tree and you'll find it very difficult to find spring flush. Sometimes there's lots of autumn flush and it is quite difficult. So the thing is, don't procrastinate, just move on to the next tree and look at another tree for spring flush. Picking the correct leaf for analysis is really important. If you don't pick the correct leaf, you'll get the wrong results and possibly the wrong fertiliser recommendations. Here's a good example of the correct flush to select for sampling, which is the 4 to 7 month old, fully expanded, non-fruiting spring flush. To be a 4 to 7 month old, fully expanded leaf flush at the time of sampling, this means you need to sample at about late summer to early autumn. In the southern states of Australia, this is about late February to late March. So here we have some summer flush and some spring flush. Firstly, the spring flush. Notice how it's a long, tapered and narrow type of flush. You can see that narrow pointiness about it, and it's also commonly called, termed as dog's ears, because it's a very sharp, pointy kind of a shaped leaf, whilst the summer flush and autumn flush has more of a broader type of appearance. Now the reason for this is that the spring flush was growing in very mild conditions in early spring, cool, and this tends to make the leaf narrower, whilst summer flush tends to grow in very much more vigorous, warm conditions, and that makes the leaf much broader than the spring flush leaf. So the key factor is to look for the thin and narrow leaves rather than the broad leaves. As a bit of a tip, you can actually look behind a fruit and find some spring flush leaves. These leaves are a little bit smaller than the leaves from a non-fruiting shoot. However, they give you a good guide of the kind of shape that you look for. As a bit of information, these leaves behind the fruit are actually used for sampling in other countries such as Israel or South Africa. So it's important that if you ever read interpretation guides from these countries, they're taking these leaves, which would be incorrect if we took these leaves in Australia. We need to take non-fruiting shoots, shoots with no fruit on the end of it. Here we have some fresh autumn flush. Now that's just obviously the wrong leaf to pick. I mean, it's just very fleshy. It's still got that lime green colour about it. So obviously this one is the leaf not to pick. So here's a shoot that does look like to be spring flush. However, you can see the leaves are curled and it does have that pointy appearance. But when you actually open up these leaves, they unfortunately have this broadness about. Now these, I think, could be an early summer flush, perhaps, that it could just had a bit of coolness about it. But it's difficult, it really is hard to know. And obviously perhaps a few of these might get in the sample and I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. But I would probably still steer away from this kind of flush. So here's a nice example of a spring flush. You can definitely see this pointiness about it, and these leaves are definitely not too broad and long and narrow. You can see a bit of white tipping there, or yellow tipping. Probably these leaves had a urea spray not too long ago, so it's caused a little bit of that, but that's fine, that's not a problem. But now we're at the stage where we want to know which leaf to actually pick. Now here's the actual shoot there. You can see how that shoot emanates from about there. That's where it sprouted. You're not meant to pick the top leaf, so that leaf we're not meant to pick. Generally you're meant to pick the middle leaves of the shoot. So that shoot starts there. There are in this shoot 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're meant to pick, probably I'd go for this third leaf here. So it'd probably be this third leaf here that I would pick, and that's the one that I would bag and take away for sampling. So here's another spring flush. This is a real good example. You can see here the pointiness of these leaves, and this is quite a big one. It's got at least 2, 4, 6, 8 leaves on it, 9 leaves. So we'll probably go for at least about the 3rd and 4th leaf. So we could either pick this leaf here, or we could pick this leaf here. However, this leaf here is a bit damaged, and generally speaking, you should steer away from damaged or diseased leaves. So I probably wouldn't put that one in the bag, but definitely I'd probably put this one here in the bag. A great way to learn of which leaves to pick for leaf analysis is to come in springtime when the trees are flowering and take note of the new leaf flush. When looking at new shoots, make sure they have no flowers or fruit on them. And secondly, have a good look at the leaves, notice what shape they are and the size they are. A good idea is to tag the shoot, so when you come back in March, you can have a good idea of what spring flush leaves look like. Make sure you tag lots of flush, because some of these flush may actually sprout during summertime. You can also tag some summer flush with some different coloured tags, and that way you'll be able to tell the difference between summer flush and spring flush.